What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the book launch of the fifth book in the Adventures of Miss series titled Flood. This book was written about the flood event that happened all along the east coast of Australia during 2022, and you are now viewing what was the live launch of this book. So excited to be able to show you what Becca Boucher and Lucien Noontil and I have been able to create together. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, welcome to the book launch of the latest Adventures of Mist. I might invite the team in, Katrina, Lucien and Becca.
Good morning, everybody, or good evening, whatever it is for you. Can I just ask that everybody turn their video off, please, if you're not one of us that are doing the launch? That would be fantastic. It's just going to make it a lot tidier and easier for everybody if we don't have the video showing. Thank you, everyone. Wendy, how many people have we got here today?
23, by it looks. Yeah.
Woohoo! That's exciting. We're just missing Lucien. Hopefully she'll come in a moment.
Hello.
Hello.
Make sure you pick that microphone up, Becca.
Thank you.
So that we can hear you really clearly.
You got me now?
Yeah, we got you now.
That's beautiful. Hi, Lucien.
Hello.
Well, I would like to officially welcome everybody to this very exciting event, the launch of the fifth book in the Adventures of Miss series. And I have to start by saying I am so blessed to have met the three amazing women that are showing on the screen with me at the moment. Wendy, we could turn that PowerPoint off now. I think we can get past that one. Yeah, I'm just so proud to be with these three women. They've all made their way into my lives in different ways, and I do things now that I never actually expected I would ever be doing, which is things like doing tours on the property, writing children's books, publishing children's books. So it's really amazing. I want to start the launch off also by acknowledging the Widjabul people of the Bundjalung Nation, on whose land Koala Gardens sits and where I live, work and play, and just acknowledge and recognise their elders, past, present and emerging, and also just acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. This is and always will be Aboriginal land, and I'm so proud to be standing on this country. So the first thing that I want to do is introduce Wendy, who is our amazing techie person. So Wendy is making sure that in the background all of this runs smoothly, and I'd be daunted doing this without Wendy. And Wendy partners with me at times, bringing people here to do tours and go off finding the wild koalas out there. But I'd like Wendy to just tell us a little bit about her Vision Walks Eco Tours business and what she does, because it is really special.
Thanks, Katrina. Yes, I for 15 years I've been running wildlife tours in Byron Bay, and I for the last, I think, 3 or 4 years, been taking people to see koalas on Katrina's wonderful property. So it's been an absolute pleasure to work with Katrina, trying to conserve these amazing, iconic Australian animals, and seeing how everything's evolving and people are taking the message about conservation of these wonderful creatures. so seriously, because we have to do everything we can to protect them, because it's possible that they could become extinct during our lifetimes, which would just be a world I don't think I want to live in. So it is. So we've got to do all we can, and sharing the stories about the koalas is certainly part of that.
Hi, Katrina. How are you? So yeah, I'm Becca, and I've known Katrina for quite a long time now, and I actually finally got to meet her in person this summer, which was amazing, wonderful. So I wanted to write the book about floods, mainly being a lifelong koala lover. That's where we started the Adventures of Mist book series, and the floods just were something that touched me because of the way they affected Katrina, which she's going to talk to you about next. But they really, besides affecting her and the animals, struck a chord with me because they're just a couple weeks ago here in central Massachusetts, we had some devastating floods that really impacted some communities. So floods are something that can happen anytime, any place, without any warning, and are really a big fallout from the whole climate crisis that the planet is facing. And that's something Mist learned. And Mist learned what we can do to help mitigate those floods and those crises. And she brings that lesson to the kids in the way that Mist does, in her simple, happy little way that we've all grown to love from Mist. And then, of course, bringing in the echidna was a major plus for me because I just love with the echidnas. Um, They are just an amazing animal, and learning about them was another big plus for this book because I think you're all going to love the Kitten character. She's a very special character.
Oh, we've got a illustration up already. But first of all, Woman Jaker, I'm Lucienne Noontill. I'm living on Wurundjeri country down in Melbourne. And it's truly amazing that book 5 is lifting off today when book 1 was only created in 2018. So that means almost a book a year, which sounds really amazing. Now, the topic of floods and this crazy weather pattern world we're in is so relevant in our world today. Climate change is a harsh reality, and depicting that in a children's book without scaring young readers was a little daunting. We had to find a balance between happy storytelling and harsh facts. So I did some research, what other books were out there, what was their focus, what happens to animals in floods, what's happening in our areas. And there was nothing really out there that sort of depicted animals and humans in a situation together. So this actual illustration is Lismore, and I thought, well, let's put it in because it actually depicts what it's like. Plus, we were trying to depict what animals were seeing as well by having this beautiful Mibony, which is the local language word for wedge-tailed eagle, up in Lismore and the Northern Rivers area. So down here we, oh gosh, can't remember what he's called. I've just had a blank. But anyway, Mibony is the local area name. Now, when I was doing the illustrations, I put that, there was a bit of water coming through from, what I thought was flood affecting. And Katrina said, no, not enough water. And I thought, oh, looks like there's a lot of water to me. And then I thought, all right, I'll put a bit more water coming through, through the trees and whatever. No, still not enough water. I thought, oh, this is really interesting because this is not how I can see floods. So what we worked out was that up in the northern rivers, with the torrential rain that they get up there, it's quite a different sort of flooding. they get almost immediate flooding because the water is just so heavy and consistent. Whereas down in Victoria, where I am, the water will flow down more gradually, and so it was the inundation is a lot slower. So when I was depicting the slow move of the floodwaters, Katrina wasn't seeing that because that's not how it was in the Northern Rivers. So it was a really good learning experience for both of us there. Katrina and Wendy, were right into this massive devastation. But down here, as I said, we just got a gradual flow. We got devastation, but not in the same capacity and same enormity. Yeah, so the story from the animal's perspective is a heartrending way to portray this issue. Animals' homes can be devastated just like humans. So what happens to them? Does anyone help them? And in this book, we've found that a few animals had to move, and we show that in the illustrative form. So it's not as well, I suppose not as harrowing for the reader. Yes, so I'm really happy to be a part of this series, and there's positives in the book, so that'll be great. So painting and portraying nature is my thing. Please enjoy the illustrations and buy as many books as you can and pass them on to people because we need to show what climate change is doing.
Thank you, Lucy. And it really was such a process, wasn't it? When you were talking about how I would be going, more water, more water, I remember a couple of times also saying to you, yeah, but what you've painted, that's just another Tuesday here. And you were really shocked because with the way our hills work, yeah, the water just comes a rushing, so it's very different. So thank you very much. Wendy, would you be able to share for me the images that I've got on that slideshow of what the floods were actually like here? Because I'm sure that everyone that's here today is aware that we had these floods all down the east coast of Australia in 2022. And here in Lismore, we experienced what we call a catastrophic flood. So we had levels of water that have actually never before been experienced here in Lismore, even though this is a flood prone area. The Lismore is about 15 minutes south of me, and we have a levee wall in Lismore that's 10 metres high, and the water actually rose 14.4 metres above the river. And then, only 4 weeks later, just as things were going down, we experienced a second major flood with the waters rising 12 metres. So if you go to the next slide, Wendy, then we can see this is an aerial image of actually Lismore, and we can see just how much water inundated. Thousands of homes were lost, countless wildlife, and many buildings, many buildings are still today sitting abandoned and derelict 18 months later. So my property is right up sitting on a ridge line. So I didn't get flood water through the actual property. However, I did have storm damage to the house, and that just got repaired last week. So that's how huge the destruction was here. So Australia is actually known as being a land of drought, flood and fire, but we are seeing previously unheard of weather events, both here and all around the world as climate change escalates. Temperatures in Australia are being recorded at over 51 degrees Celsius, which is 123 degrees Fahrenheit. We're having wildfires burn in places that have never seen fire before, and the impact of all these events on our environment and on the wildlife are just immense. If you can go to the next slide, Wendy. This is the eerie sight that I saw one morning in February when the flood started from the top of my hill. Now, I normally don't see any water from here at all, and that's not a river. It is natural swampland, but it's all been turned into farms. On the next slide, we can see further down from that same spot, you can see a shed and a house, and they've been completely inundated. And somewhere in there, I'm not sure exactly which part, but that's where the power lines had broken and it was all underwater, and that caused me to lose power here on the property for over 2 weeks. On the next slide, we can see just water, water. Every road was cut, and the silence here, except for the rescue helicopters. There were 13 different rescue helicopters flying around. So it was this eerie mix of silence and then helicopters. On the next slide, we can see that same shed again, but this is now a month later, the second flood. And you can see that the water levels are almost the same because the ground was so waterlogged that the water just rose straight back up again. And now on the last slide, we can see one of the wildlife that fled the lower lands to come up here and spend a lot of time here, both during the flood and for months afterwards, which is a red-necked wallaby. And we're going to meet some of them in the new book. Now, for me personally, it was really difficult to get started writing the book and giving the facts to get Becca started with the writing because there's a lot of PTSD in the community here. I've actually rarely talked about the actual realities of the event to anyone outside this area. And most of the time, I still find that if I try to, my brain just shuts down and I go blank. But we do talk a lot about it here as a community, that those of us that went through it together. But I found after about 6 months had passed, I felt that we could start working on the book. And what happened was I found that stepping back and looking at the event from the POV of the animals, I began to find a way to talk about it all. So writing this book has actually been a little bit healing for me while we're giving children a way to think about and discuss the big issues that are happening in our world. Now I'm going to ask Wendy to come in and talk a little bit about her experience of that same flood, just 75 or so kilometres away from where Koala Gardens is. Thanks, Wendy.
Yeah, thanks. It certainly impacted me dramatically. My house was okay, but where my office was in Mullumbimby was completely inundated through about 1.5 meters of water came through. I lost all of my gear in my office, including all of my night vision gear I use for my tours. We lost all communication. We had no communication for over a week. And I also had to go and find out what my 80-year-old parents live in Ballina. I didn't know if they were okay, and we had no way of communicating with them. So I went down the highway as far as I could, but the highway was blocked both to the south and the north. And I went as far as I could and then had to walk 5 kilometres down the highway, of which about 1 kilometre of it was through flood water that was up to my knees. And I eventually got to my parents who, their house was completely surrounded by water, but their house themselves was dry, which was great. But they had no electricity, no water, no communication. But they are a very resilient generation, and they were just eating everything that was defrosting from their freezer and cooking it on the gas barbecue. So then I had to return the next day with some fresh food and some ice and a little battery-powered radio for them to make sure they were, okay. And then for my sins, I ended up with a staph infection in my leg for thank you for walking through the floodwaters. So my business is still being impacted by the floods. There are still walks that are still closed. There's still roads here that are still closed. I'm still feeling the impact today, and that was almost like one and a half years ago. Like, it's pretty full on.
So yeah, I'm supposed to be talking to you guys about book 1, Adventures in Mist, and just remind you of how that book came about. But I do still want to touch on the book a little bit more. Thank Katrina for sharing her experience with us and for coming to that point. She could really convey the feelings and the emotions of the whole thing, so we could write this book the way we did. Because it was a tough book to write for her. I think for all of us to really come from that perspective of how fleeting life is and how it's affecting everyone. For the animals, for everyone. Wendy, it was just an experience writing this book. Make sure we acknowledge the sharing that Katrina did with us with that. But on to the first book, Adventures in Mist. If you guys have been with us since the beginning, since 2018, you know that Mist was my favorite koala in Koala Gardens, and that's why I came to Katrina and with the idea of writing the Adventures in Mist. And the first book finds Mist losing her home to deforestation and going on a journey to find a safe home. And along the way, she meets a bunch of new friends who lead her to Koala Gardens, and she finds in Koala Gardens a safe haven where the land can never be taken from her again, where she's safe, where she can sleep easily at night. And that's why we end every book with Mist happily sleeping in her tree, because she's finally in a safe place. And that's what we hope for all the animals that journey through Koala Gardens. And Mist will always be Mist by the So I think we're turning it over to Lucienne. And that's a good picture to start with.
So this was an interesting book because it was all about a new animal or bird coming to the sanctuary. The animals were all wondering what's going on, and it so happens that book 2, it's all about animal welfare and what happens when. Have you got those slides, Wendy? What happens when we don't look out for wildlife on the roads? In this instance, I don't really want to tell you what happens, but you can see that there's a little tawny frogmouth arrives and there's been an incident, and virtually we just really need to look out for wildlife anywhere, but this mainly when we're driving, when we're on the roads. So tawny frogmouth arriving, and then the friends get involved and they've got to get the word out, and they use the birds to chat and to give information. Okay, next one. Okay, there are these ratbag kids in the car distracting the parents. Okay, and then there it is, if you haven't seen it before. And this last one is a tawny frogmouth at Koala Gardens. So they have just a slight variation from Melbourne and Victoria, just a little bit of difference in the colour, but that's probably due to their habitat. Okay, so the next book is book 3, and that is all about it's a tricky one, this one. Yeah, this is another thing that happened really close to Koala Gardens and a lot in Victoria. and the wildlife were really affected. So the importance is just amazing to the, not just humans, the wildlife. You know, if we don't have trees to support the wildlife, we've really got nothing. So in this sign, you can actually see what the danger, the weather prediction, and what the fire danger is like on that slide there. And this one we included some little sugar gliders because they really need old growth tree hollows to survive. And so if fire wipes out the trees, then this is just one instance of an animal losing its home. Okay, so this is the last slide. You can see in there that Mister's having a good look at what's happening down there. It looks like a bit of land clearing and the city on the horizon. So the encroaching on their habitat is, it seems to be fairly constant at the moment. Australia are really bad at conserving habitat for wildlife. But people like us, trying to promote what's going on out there is, we're trying to get the word out. So
Hi. So book 4 brings us to another one of my favorite koalas, Nugget. And Nugget has got himself into quite a bit of trouble. And he comes back to Koala Gardens with quite a problem. And the lesson of book 4 in Nugget is about domestic animals and how domestic animals impact wildlife, especially invasive. And it's also a good sort of experience for kids about how Katrina interacts with wildlife. And because there's special ways to interact with wildlife. So it's a whole big lesson about dogs. We'll say, because I didn't want to give it away, but the dogs were about dogs, and that's the kind of trouble Nugget gets himself into. But he knows that he's safe to Koala Gardens because this always knows what to do. She always knows how. And it's just a fun way and good lesson for the kids to help them realize that keep your animals inside, keep your dogs on a leash, don't let them chase wildlife, and keep the koalas safe. Especially, again, it comes back to koalas having trees. They need those trees to get up in, to get away from dogs and the cats and the dangerous species. And the trees are their home. So there we have Nugget asleep in his tree. He does make it home. However, he's a happy Nugget. And I think we have back to Katrina.
So, 4 books, we're on to book 5. I just got one little thing I'm going to say is in book 3, they weren't sugar gliders, they were squirrel gliders. They are a really similar little marsupial, but sugar gliders are quite common. Squirrel gliders are an endangered species, and I do have squirrel gliders on the property here. I have up to 14 endangered or vulnerable species on the property. So even though it's not a huge piece of land, it's a really important piece of land in the midst of an incredibly important area of habitat. So I'm not going to show you any more illustrations out of book 5 because we want to keep some things for you to find out when you get your copy of the book. But I will just talk a little bit to what's actually going on in the book. So it's following Mist and her friends as they're trying to make sense of what's going on. So through the experience of both arboreal marsupials, the burrowing animals, and various birds, we watch them piecing together the big picture. So, one of the aims of the books in general is to use the point of view of different kinds of wildlife to help children expand their view of the world and of the issues that are going on around the world. And each book introduces some new Australian native species. And all of the species that we show in the books, they all are actually found here at Koala Gardens. So, as well as the redneck wallabies, we're going to get to meet echidnas and the majestic wedge-tailed eagle, which you saw, Mibony, in that painting earlier on. So, what a contrast of views we're going to be able to present from the small burrowing animals to the soaring heights that an eagle reaches. And as always, we have another native animal that's hidden in each of the paintings. And in this book, we've used the tiny little marsupial antechinus. So the experience of the floods, then it leads children to think about what each person can do in their lives to help slow down climate change and respect this beautiful planet we live on. After all, it's the only one that we have. So, Wendy has got some links that she's going to put into chat, and those links will allow you to click and directly get through to purchase copies of the books from either, now you can purchase them directly from me, Koala Gardens, or directly from Lucienne, or directly from Becca. So the way that all works is we all share the costs of printing the books, and therefore the profits go from the sales to whoever you choose to purchase the books from. And if you're over in the US, it is going to be cheaper postage for you to buy books directly from Becca, that's for sure. Now, with purchasing them from me, I should have given Wendy an image to show, but I've also am today releasing the 2024 calendar. So when you go to my shop, you can choose to purchase a copy of Flood and a copy of the calendar together, and that is going to reduce the postage a lot. Wendy's going to try and show the calendar, but it's a funny thing when you use these virtual background. Oh, still, yes, there it is. No, gone. So the 2024 calendar is out. A huge thanks to Wendy from Vision Walk Eco Tours, who is one of the businesses who sponsors and helps to make that calendar a really viable fundraising opportunity. So if you're interested in the calendar as well, particularly well, even if you're in Australia, but particularly if you're overseas, the postage per item is reduced a lot if you buy them together. So Lucienne is going to pop on and tell you how you can buy them from her, and Wendy has put the links into the live chat, so that helps you click there. Lucienne, how can people get from you?
Well, they can hop onto my website, or they can direct message me from any of my socials, or SMS, whatever. But there is a big special on that we have for getting all 5 books. So you might think that it's September, only a few days left of September, but that is really close to Christmas. So get organised, you guys. And, there's a good special on the website for the 5 books. I will wheel and deal, you know that I will. So just talk to me.
That's a really great point. I've also got a big special on my website for buying the 5 books, and for buying the 5 books and a calendar, and for doing a bundle of getting 5 books, calendar, and a beautiful, oh, I've got one around, can't see it, little plushy koala as well. So do sort of sniff about through Lucienne's shop, through my shop, and, you know, think about, if I'm going to spend money, that's not quite the one. It's not a big one with 2 joeys, but it's from the same place. But it's a really good point. And the same when Becca comes on in the moment, like, you know, talk to Becca about how good a deal can she do for multiple books, because it's a great time to think about getting those Christmas gifts organised in advance and giving something that people can't just pick this up in a shop just like anywhere. So it does make it a really special type of gift. So, Becca, how can people get this from you?
They can visit my website, which the link was put up by Wendy, but it's www.beccacrochetauthor.com. You can also just direct message me on any of the social, Becca Crochet Author on Facebook, because I think the drop-down menu on my website doesn't list all the books as of yet. We're still trying to get that active. But you can just send me a message through the website, tell me how many books you want, which ones you want all 5, and we'll definitely have a bundle deal for you on my website as well. I don't have the cute stuff koala though. Sadly.
No, I did find one so that you can see the
I think
little
I have
6-inch
some
koala
stick-on koalas
plushie.
left.
Yeah, I think you've got a couple
I
of
think so, yeah.
nice ones. Yeah, but not. We have basically got to the end of the launch. Please don't leave yet, because in a moment we're going to get everybody to turn their video on, and Wendy is going to do a screen capture so that we can have a nice shot of everybody that was here.
Although Caroline said, was it book 2? When you had the picture of the kids in the car, she said that you really captured those obnoxious people in the car not paying attention.
I think it's actually pretty amazing that we're able to put out a book every year, because it takes us the bulk of the year to actually create the book. It's a really huge process that involves a lot of going back and back and back and back over and over and over as we get through each stage, but it's so enjoyable.
Val,
there's a question there for me.
Yeah, there you go, Val. Val's asked, Katrina, are you willing to autograph the calendar for her?
Of course.
Fantastic.
So what do you think, Wendy? Should we get everybody to
put your videos on?
Video on? No audio. Just turn your video on so that we can get a screen capture. And then once we've got that little screen capture of everybody, we will turn the audio on just for a couple of minutes to have a quick chat. But let's get the screen capture first. Wendy can tell how many people are here, because we don't actually have a clue. It's so great to see all these faces. Oh,
look at Lynn's koala. Lynn's got a koala.
Lynn.
Thank you all for coming. I can see lots of familiar faces from Melbourne, a couple from Brisbane. Oh, yeah. Thanks, guys, for your support.
Is that everyone that's going to turn on?
I see.
Everybody do a wave while Wendy takes the photo.
I can't wave when I'm doing it.
No, Wendy can't wave in photo.
Actually, I think this might be a red panda. Good on you, John.
Hands.
Cool, I got the photo.
Yay.
Thanks, Sam and Jack. Thanks, Jen.
Hey, Sean, I can see Sean too.
Hi, Craig. Thank you, Craig.
Actually, there's Pete from Alice Springs, so that's really great.
Oh, did we just get another camera turn on? Might need to do one more quick photo, Wendy. Yay!
Okay.
You're so good to us. Oh, more people coming, going.
There we go. I got a few.
Yay! Excellent. That's great. All right,
and
so
it looks like we got someone from Alaska here too, unless you're lying about that, Rich.
No, Rich is in Alaska. Yes. Rich is a fantastic supporter, and he writes frequently asked questions on my Discord that are just superb. No, not, yeah, frequently asked questions. Is that what we do? Yeah. It's got to the point in the Lord's where I go, my brain's like all frying in. So he does this amazing work researching topics about koalas, and we all collaborate. And then he puts them onto the Discord and building up an amazing repository of information there. So if people would like to turn their audio on and have a quick noisy chat, then we'll do that just for a couple of minutes and then we'll be closing on out. So thank you all so much for coming. It's been fantastic to have everybody here and be able to celebrate launching our 5th book together.
Caroline, which conservation organisation were you with? I recognise your name from somewhere.
I'm not with any organization. I teach at a college.
You teach at a college? I don't know why your name looked familiar from someone that I've seen involved with koala conservation. Maybe I'm...
Well, I am very interested in it.
Carolyn's been following me for a long time.
I'm an environmental sociologist.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
See, you knew something, Wendy. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's been great to have everybody here. Val, you looking good?
Oh, thank you so much. I miss you.
Oh, you too.
Is that thunder?
I'm so sorry we couldn't get together in Boston. That was the biggest disappointment ever.
It was a shame, but Carla's here. Hi, Carla.
Hey.
Carla did make it to the launch or the event that Becca and I did in Boston.
Oh, we're getting a lot of rain. We're getting a lot of rain, Becca.
Yes, we're having a ton of rain.
Yeah.
You getting a lot of rain? Got you flooded?
No, but Fitchburg was flooded very badly. They had a lot of sinkholes, a dam broke. Fitchburg had horrible damage.
So did Norfolk.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Norfolk is terrible. They're like under 6 feet of water.
Really?
Yeah, it's awful. And what's worse is my brother and sister live there, but they're up here, and we've got nothing.
I could just hear a thunderstorm brewing outside. I could hear, even though I've got noise cancelling headphones on, I just heard the thunder over the top of my headphones. That's how loud it was.
Yeah. The storm started here about 15 minutes before we started logging in for the launch. Yeah. So we've been dry weather. And now today, it's all of a sudden
had a cold,
got
wet
a storm.
summer. It was awful.
But no climate change to see here, people. Keep moving.
Nope.
Yeah, exactly.
We're expecting to have a winter this year too. That's what they're saying.
And this is a real thing that we're that we made a point of in the books too, is that while we're writing about something that happened here, the climate change events are just happening all the world around. You know, this is not an Australian problem. This is a global problem. And I don't know if you can hear the thunder starting here. It's really hitting again here at the moment. But yeah, the issues that are happening, the fires and the flooding that we're seeing around the world, and what a tornado had a landfall in Maine for the first time on record not that long ago. You know,
well, we had some terrible smoke come down from the fires in Canada. The air quality got so bad I couldn't go outdoors because I'm asthmatic. So,
and Sean here is in Canada. So, yeah.
It was really horrible. Well, it depended
Yeah.
on where you lived in Canada. If you were in British Columbia, it wasn't a problem. If you were in Toronto or Montreal or anything like that, then it was really awful.
Mm. It's
But
amazing how far.
can I use this
It's
time
amazing.
to make an opportunity to ask everyone, what's your carbon footprint? Like we can't rely on, we've all got to make a change to stop climate change. And the way that's going to happen is if we all start making changes. And
Yeah.
with my business, I use a hybrid vehicle as my tour vehicle. I use renewable energy. And then I plant koala food trees with Bangalow koalas to offset my carbon footprint. And last year, my net position was minus 4,500 kilograms of CO2. And
Yeah.
so I've done that by making small changes. I've made choices that end up saving me money. When you make sustainable changes, usually save you money. And then I just physically plant trees with organisations to offset. And I just add it all up and come out negative. So it's like we can all make small changes to reduce climate change. That's all.
Right.
Well, I
Well
don't
done,
do I
Wendy.
don't do much of anywhere. So that kind of shoots my carbon footprint down to nothing.
You
Yeah.
can't
Well,
go
And
anywhere.
what I've
sorry.
found is that once you've made a small change for a little while, it just it just feels so easy and so normal. And then you make another one, and it adds up and it adds up, and then the way you're doing everything in life is suddenly different, but it doesn't feel like an effort. And so rather than trying to do a big change in everything you do, if you just make a change, get used to it, make another one, it's amazing because, like you say, Wendy, you now run on a negative basis, and you've built that up over a period of time. And
Absolutely.
I just want to give a shout out because I can see a Koala Gardens calendar on a wall, and that's just making me smile a little bit inside here.
Rich's calendar, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hope is our
Yeah.
calendar boy this month. Little
And
button.
so it's kind of something that we try to do again with the books is get children thinking about how can they reduce their footprint, how can they change the way that they're doing everyday things so that as this next generation of children are growing up, that just becomes part of their natural way of thinking, because a lot of people get scared about changing and they think changing's hard. So if we can help children to be thinking in a certain way right from the start, then it's just going to be easy for them to live differently. Yeah.
And I think that old adage, you can't be what you can't see, is in play here. Unless you actually benchmark what your carbon footprint is, how are you going to reduce it? Like, it's really important to actually, there's heaps of carbon calculators out there in
Yep.
everyone's
Yeah.
countries. Just get on one and just put in your data and see what your carbon footprint is. And then go, well, how can I reduce this? What small things can I do to reduce it? And when I switched my vehicle from a normal car to a hybrid, I halved my carbon emissions, but I also halved my fuel bill. And I've saved enough money over 3 years to buy a new car because of the
Yep.
money I've saved in fuel. So it makes sense.
It
So,
sure
Rich in
does.
Alaska, how is the snow and the ice going over there? Have you noticed it at all?
Yeah,
Because
the
it,
winters are definitely getting shorter, and the summers. I don't know. It's a little different. I remember trick or treating as a kid, and being waist deep in snow, and now we generally don't see it till November. So climate change is definitely taking a little toll up here that I've seen for sure.
Wow. Well, we've got a little depiction of what's happening in the book, because there's a little expose of climate action and climate changes. So yeah, we've got you in the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think it's time that we wrapped up. We've been going for nearly an hour. It's been fantastic, and I will be letting everybody know when I have processed this video. I'm going to premiere it on YouTube, which means we're going to be able to watch it together again live and text chat while we watch it together. So it'll be the next best thing to having been here. And a lot of the people, I mean, Lynn, stalwart Lynn, has stayed up in the UK to watch this live. But for a lot of people,
thank you, Lynn.
particularly as they get over into Europe, I think Europe are another hour or two different to where Lynn is, and it's like something like 2 o'clock in the morning or something for them now. So particularly for the European time slot, the premiere on YouTube is going to mean that they will get to have some live. So much everyone for coming, and those of you that have stayed around afterwards. I mean, I recognise each one of you as having been long-time supporters of what I do. And I just lastly want to shout out Sean for the drawings that he is doing. The artwork is just becoming amazing, and he has been.
Oh, looks like the storm's finally got to Katrina.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the radar at the moment, and it's running right through her at the moment. And it's about to run right through me. So I will
coming to an abrupt end.
Yes, yeah. I think I can unheard another big clap of thunder then. So I think we will wind this up. Thank you very much for everyone for coming, and we'll hope to see you all again soon. And we'll see you definitely at the next book launch.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.
See you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Well, can you imagine that? Just as we were finishing the launch, this storm really broke overhead and I completely lost my internet connection. I was in the middle of thanking Sean for the amazing artwork that he has been spending September, Save the Koala Month September, drawing a Koala Gardens koala a day. Keep on watching on YouTube, because in early October I am going to showcase all of them for you here on YouTube. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. His work is just astounding. We've been watching him on Discord develop some quite amazing koala drawing skills. If you're not a member of Discord, have a think about coming over there. It is so different to interacting on what we normally think of as social media. We get to do lots of things really personally and in a really fun way. Thank you so much for attending the launch, whether you got to attend it live in person, whether you're attending it with me live now as a premiere and have been chatting to me in the YouTube chat, or whether you've come along later and are watching it at your leisure. In the description below, there's links to my shop to be able to buy the calendar and flood. there's a link to Lucienne's website where you can buy directly from Lucienne, including other books that Lucienne has written and illustrated that are stunning, and to Becca Boucher's website where you can buy directly from Becca. Thank you all. Your support means the world to me. And if you made it this far, you've made it to the end of another Koala Gardens video. So would you write in the comments below, I love Mist's books. Thanks for watching. Lots more coming your way again soon.